Yeah, I'll try and make this as quick as possible as well, given the time. And really, basically, what I wanted to present to you is the relationship that we have between a destination organisation that's managed by a local authority, that is the Geopark, and local businesses in sustainability. So it's a public-private collaboration, really, all around sustainable tourism. So Clara, can I have the next slide, please? So just very quickly, I'm sure some of you aren't really familiar with what global geoparks are, but the ethos behind them and the reason why they're in existence is that not only just to emphasize the importance of the geological heritage of an area, it's also very much a place that recognizes landscapes, history, culture, and there has to be a management structure with a focus on education, conservation, sustainable tourism and community engagement. These are really, really important features of it. The designation is revalidated against set criteria every 4 years. And you can see there's a lot of geoparks there in Europe, but they're spread all over the world. There's right now we have 161 in 44 countries, and there's actually 83 in Europe. So the idea really, we've been at Geopark since 2021 and we got UNESCO designation in 2015. And that particular ethos underpins all of our work programme, and a very, very important part of that is the sustainable tourism development within the destination. So if Clara could go on to the next slide, please. So when we started off as the Geopark, and even prior to that, there was a lead-in. There was about a 4-year lead-in period before we got UNESCO designation. We were already in a very, very well-developed tourism destination, and I just want to say to Killarney that it's actually the Cliffs of Moher who are the second most visited in Ireland, because they hit 1.6 million in 2019. I mean, there was just this trajectory, you know, for the last over 10 years. And there's also 9 other visitor centres. If you see the map there, all of those little dots represent either visitor centres. The national park is over here. There's a lot of walking and cycling trails. There's very good archaeological sites that are pretty well managed. And of course, there's the wide Atlantic Way all along the west coast. And here's the Cliffs of Moher. There's a very strong accommodation and food sector as well. And obviously the Cliffs of Moher and the Burn are also very, very well-known brands. And what we're doing, trying to deal with here, not just with sustainable tourism, with the businesses themselves. Of course, destination management involves an awful lot more. So I'm very interested in the tools that EPSOM are developing, and our ESPON are developing, and you know, in terms of overall management, because it's not just about the concentrations of popularity, you know, that Bernd showed earlier on in the heat map. It's really what do we do in terms of tourism and in the spread of tourism all around the destination. But we also have to be conscious that there are certain aspects, parts of the destination, parts of the geopark that are not suitable for tourism development. And that's something we really need to be cognizant of as well. So it's a balance, it's very challenging. And the more tools we have for that, the better. So can I have the next slide, please? So in terms of contribution to sustainable development, we always had this idea of developing and helping to develop a network of businesses. That was the first act that we engaged in. And then we looked at how we can make those businesses sustainable, and how we can gather data and how we can use that data to be able to develop other sustainable strategies going into the future. So the next slide, please. It was, this whole journey took well over 10 years, and we actually started off the first few years with huge help from Fáilte Ireland and from the LEADER programme run by the Clare Local Development Company. And as well, I have to call out Mary Mulvey as well. You know, she was working in the Green Box at the time. She obviously went on to develop Ecotourism Ireland. So we had a lot of discussions with Fáilte Ireland and with the certification programs, etc. But in 2012, we got EU funding under a LIFE programme, and we decided that we really needed a bespoke version of this so that we could manage things locally and we could keep the data, you know, we could assess data locally. So we developed a code of practice under this particular programme, the EU LIFE programme. It's a continuous work in progress. We're very responsive to the businesses and to how the businesses are reacting and engaging with the code. And we don't give a fee, we don't charge a fee for it. So that's quite important as well, I think, to point out. Next slide, please. The emphasis on practice is huge because it increases awareness of sustainability and the mindsets and habits, etc. And actually, while we were doing the whole practice, during the whole kind of development of the code, etc., a lot of things came out of it because the emphasis was on working together. So the food trails, the activity trails, all of this kind of evolved out of the engagement under the code of practice. And also the practice of not only working together, but wastewater energy management, etc. That has created a really good foundation for the certification programs for any of the businesses that want to go on to national and international certification programs. So can I have the next slide, Clara? The important features really of the code is that there are 6 fundamental principles. You'll see them there: working together, cared for landscape, obviously that they are doing their conservation projects, etc. That there's quite a bit of engagement in conservation and investment in conservation. They have to show all of that. Then the well understood heritage is about how they're developing their knowledge and how they're communicating that knowledge to their visitor. Vibrant communities, there's performance measures around accessibility, on how you contribute to your community as a business, how you also engage in universal design and, you know, upping your game in terms of making your product, your experience, your service much more accessible to a wider audience. And then when it comes to strengthening livelihoods, we are dealing very much here with employment, obviously, but also with this circular kind of local economy and trying to, as Jarlath pointed out earlier, really emphasize, you know, the local produce a hell of a lot more and really bring the services and engaging with each other and promoting each other as well. So that is a very important aspect of things. And then the sustainable environmental management is all about wastewater energy management. So as I said, 6 principles, 33 performance measures and 11 essential measures. So to actually be marketed by the network, any new business coming into the network has to achieve 11 essential measures before they can be, you know, engaged with. It's very much evidence-based, so all of the evidence has to be uploaded now. You know, we changed the code recently, and we're very specific about the evidence that we want against all of these measures. There's various levels of achievement. If you don't achieve the 11 essential measures, you're red, and then it's amber, green 1 and 2, and on up to emerald. And we actually have something like 9 businesses who've achieved emerald status, which is like 98% of the code expectations. So next slide, please, Clara. It's incremental progressive system, so you can start with nothing, and once you try and meet the essential measures, it's a journey then of incremental development. And we've also designed it as a management tool so that it's good management to be able to engage with the code. So if you are fully engaged with the code, you're managing your business very well, and you're also utilizing the information that you get from the code, the data you get from the code, as social media feeds, etc. So it's useful. We're really trying to make the code as useful as possible. Lots of training and mentoring supports are provided. The data is aggregated, so it's not per individual business. We aggregate the data for the whole network. We also have developed this year a carbon calculator for the network as a unit. So that's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that in the future. We also have an independent evaluation every 2 years of all of the businesses, so the County Council pays for that. And we have an awards event for best practice and inspiration. And that's every 2 years as well. And the last one was in 2019. So hopefully we'll be able to have one either towards the end of the year or early next year. So can I have the next slide, please? That's always great fun because that's when you can see, you know, what people are doing and how they're inspiring others to do to do well as well and encourage each other. So as Jarlath said, we've been recognised over the years as a destination in particular. And then the next slide, please. So the latest, of course, which was awarded to the network themselves on the basis that the code is their USP, is absolutely fantastic. And I love this quote here that came from the Times, which is basically, I suppose, validating the work that we've been doing together as the Geopark as a destination and the network as, you know, as a group of businesses. Community collaboration with over 60 local enterprises, which has transformed Ireland's Burning Cliffs of Moher Geopark into a global leader for sustainable tourism. And that's what we had always set out to achieve. So we've gotten to this point now, and hopefully we'll be able to continue progressing. And another part of the challenge for the Geopark will be to do what I'd said earlier on in the presentation. It's about larger management issues. And again, it was quite interesting to hear Bern saying that you need very localized information to help you with that. But I also say you need, it's really about, you know, what's the zone of influence, and in terms of our future and sustainability in terms of tourism, it has to be really with us at a county level and managed with integration with planning, with economic development, all of those different departments within the council. And that's what we're working on now at the moment. And these tools will hopefully be able to help us. We'll look into it anyway. So that's it. Thank you very much for your